not only in this center, but it's lovely to be back in this life, in this incarnation, going through what we learn in Spiritism, a re-educational process, because we have decided, not only by ourselves, but also with the help of our helpers, spiritual helpers, before we came to this life, before taking a new body, we studied what we have done from time immemorial, since we started our evolutionary journey. We saw then what we had done correctly. We saw what we had done incorrectly. We decided on what we should work on once we came here. And this is the reason why we are here. Many times when we look back in our lives, in this life mostly, because we seldom remember others, we think that we should have done things differently. If I just had done this instead of that. So we can do it now. Each moment is a new beginning, and the is the only thing that we have power over, the now. So every moment is a new beginning, a new chance to do whatever we feel like, which is useful, beneficial to us and to those around us, to our society. We should do it. And when we understand that we have this work to do that is for our own good, that's going to benefit us primarily, and then later everybody who we are responsible for, and everybody that we are associated with, because we are all centers of energy, centers of power, centers of love, and that spreads around us as we go throughout our days. And this is one of the beauties, one of the miracles that we see around us daily. And for this thing to have started, the universe that we see and that we are part of, even if we don't understand, it's hard to believe, as materialist scientists want us to believe, that all started without a reason, by chance, and something that just happened. It is hard to know or to think that there wasn't a greater power that started all this greatness that's all around us, that we are part of, and we call our God. So in our chapter 16, we cannot serve God and Mammon, Mammon being rich, properties, and so forth. We're going to talk also a little bit about these beliefs and how we serve God. Now, how we serve God. Moreover, more than that, how do we know? How do we believe that there is a God, that there is this greater power that created everything. Nobody can prove that there is a God, scientifically at least, but nobody can disprove that God exists either. So our belief that there is a God, that this higher power, is by pure faith. We have faith. We believe that God exists. And this belief is strengthened. It gains power when we look around us, when we look in the universe that we are part of, the infinity of space, the incredible amount of stars, the beauty, the passing of the seasons, for instance, the miracle of motherhood, of a child smiling, and of their innocence, and also the many talents that many humans exhibit. Great minds, great mathematicians, great physicists, great musicians, poets. When we consider all that, it is really, really, really hard to believe that all happened by chance. There must be a greater power. There must be a greater intelligence that created all of it. So we believe in God as the creator of the universe and the creator or universes, because now even science, there is this many world interpretation that science is finding out that the chances there are many, many, many other universes, not only within this universe but apart from universe, this universe is great. So the miracle keeps getting bigger and bigger, and to believe that one universe happened by chance, maybe it's okay even if it's a huge thing. Now to believe that many universes started by chance, that's another thing, because it's really hard. So we have these things that we see and things that we don't see, and we attribute all that as God's creation. We include it, of course. Now, for such a being, for such an intelligence to create something as great, even greatness, even in the littlest of things, bees and ants and even microbes. We see there's a lot of research, even bacteria. They're thinking that bacteria has some kind of consciousness because it knows, for instance, to circumvent some obstacle, to retreat when it's being threatened, just like an animal, a cat or a dog, or we do. So there is greatness, miracle, even in the littlest things. And for these things to happen this way, there must be a greater intelligence that infused intelligence in all these things. And we learned that in Spiritism, right? That we are all sparks from God here to shine. So the qualities that we then attribute to God is great. And what is God? Right? The Hebrew called it Yahweh. No name. No name. You can't describe it. You don't know. No name. And also I am. So what is God? I am. So we are using I, right, to describe it. Now, we go in our doctrine, in the Spiritism, and question. That's how Kardec opens up in the chapters that he's going to write in the Spirit's book, our doctrine. In the beginning, obviously, he has the prologues and all that. But this is how the Spiritism starts. Because we know that the Spirit's book is the backbone of the Spiritist doctrine. That's how Spiritism started. Question 1, what is God? Not who. What is God? And the answer is God is supreme intelligence. First cause of everything. And then he goes on question 3. Could we say that God is infinite? Now, do we have any idea what infinity is? We don't. We don't have that capacity to fathom, to understand what it is. And the answer is, it's an incomplete definition. Even infinity is an incomplete definition of human language. Insufficient to define what transcends human intelligence. So this is something great. Now, if we can even describe, have an idea, understand what this power is, this intelligence is, how do we serve it? Jesus established that we cannot serve God and Mammon, or we are serving someone, serving God, but how do we go about doing it? Now, one of the roles of religion, as we know, is to guide us through thoughts, philosophies that transcends physicality, humanity, and all that we know, all that is around it, something that is transcended. It is beyond what is physical, beyond even what we understand. And Spiritism, it couldn't be different. So Spiritism is also a religion or a philosophy that can provide us that guidance. And I find it amazing because we see things much simpler, much more detailed in our doctrine than I have found in several other religions that I studied. In question 115, part of the answer of that question is God has given to each one of us a mission. They say spirit, each spirit, but we are the spirits that they're talking about. The body that we have is an instrument that we use to live life on earth so that we can interact with other things physical. But we are the being residing in the body. The body is just our hardware. And the spirit, which we are, is the software. And the software is what makes a hardware work. Just like a software does to a computer, the human spirit, us do to the physical body. So each of us a mission with the purpose of enlightening us so that we can gradually attain perfection, learn the truth, and thus being able to gradually get closer to God. Spirits, us, acquire knowledge by going through the trials God imposed on us. Some of us accept these trials with submission, and that allows us to arrive faster to our final destination. Others have trouble carrying or accepting their load, don't live as well as they should, and complain about their misery. That's my paraphrasing. A misery resulting from our own wrongful living. So for us, in that situation, it takes longer for us to attain or to arrive to perfection, and also all the good things that come with it, happiness being one of them. Now, if God has given to each of us a mission, now how do we serve God? This is one of the ways that we have to learn, right? How do we serve God based on this passage? And you see that God is giving us, it's for our own benefit. We do this, we will be enlightened. We get enlightened, we get closer to God, closer to perfection. And we get closer to perfection, we live a much, much happier life. And the reason that God, if we have this power, that we can even describe infinite, and He gives us, His humble humans, a mission, it is because He trusts us, right? He thinks that we can do it. Whatever the mission is, many times we have no clue, no idea what we're here for. So we go, we do as it comes. Now, and we have it very clearly that we acquire knowledge by going through and accepting our trials and tribulations. That's how we gain knowledge. So how do we serve God then? By accepting the trials and tribulations that befall us, because they are, as we can imply from here, they will help us advance if we take them, if we carry on our load, rather than complain and badmouth God and everything, blame everybody. So we serve God by going through these cycles of reincarnational cycles of everything that comes our way. Our sorrows, for instance, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, everybody goes through it. It is something that is part of the physical life. It is the physical suffering, for instance, is natural to the body. That body is a machine, and that wears out sometimes, prone to diseases, prone to pain and things like that. This is the instrument that we use so that we can learn these things. So if God is trusting us, giving us a mission, and this mission is for our own good, to attain perfection, to be enlightened, and to do that, we need to go through these trials and tribulation. He trusted us with this mission. Then he thought, you can do it. So that's the least that we can do, is to try. We must honor this great being, great intelligence that gave us this chance. So we serve God by grin and bearing everything that comes, right? Everything. It's gonna go, but it's gonna pass. It's gonna pass. Like when you're in the dentist and they gives you the anesthesia, and he says, and then you go two, and it's still hurting, and he asks you if it's hurting, and you say no, and it is hurting, and he needs to do his job, and you don't want. So that's how we gotta go through that. And then, if you don't have dental insurance, it's going to hurt on your way out as well, because it is expensive. If you have had a bridge or something, it's in the thousands of dollars. You can make a down payment in a car. So some of us then, we decide to go through the trials and tribulations, and we decide to accept it. So we arrive faster to the destination. So we have attained a level of consciousness, for instance, that we are already able to decide what's better, what's best for us. Right? So, and we know that if we accept things the way they are, life becomes easier to live, more pleasant to live. When we accept those things, and we know that everything is passing, because it is passing, it's fast. And the suffering that we think that we go through, that the purpose is to learn us lesson, that is so. We come to earthly life, and this is not the first one, not the last one. We have had many. And God also these things, right? Now, first we come here small, fragile, naked, with anything, with nothing. Even the knowledge that we had in other lives are forgotten, because we're taking a new body, a new brain. So we are starting all over as we learn in the Spiritism. There's no textbook, no manual on how to learn lessons or what lessons we are here to learn. We're going to learn it by living, by experiencing. And it is not difficult to know what it is that we're here to learn. Now, if we hate more than we love, so hate is the thing that we need to work on. If we have an addiction that is very, very hard to treat or to stop, that's exactly what we need to work on. That's the way we learn it. If we are impatient, that's the lesson. That's what we need to learn patience. If we're violent, that's what it is. We need to learn the opposite, non-violence. That's how we progress. That's how we evolve. We get better. We get enlightened by not doing what is wrong. We're going to do it. One part of our incarnation, of course, we're going to do it because we don't know better. But at one point, we know better. And we know that all that's negative causes us pain and sorrow. And takes us longer to get than to the perfect state that's going to drive us closer to God and faster. So that's how we learn. We learn by suffering, and some of us need a lot of suffering before we learn. So now we know better, and when we know better, we try to, it's for our own good. So what we do what we learn. So whatever we're doing that we think is wrong, we change it, and we do it correctly so that we arrive faster. And everything that we go through, every problem, we all have had many problems. It's passing. It's just a matter of time. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, sometimes shorter, but it goes away so that new ones can come. And then we work on the new ones too. That's how we learn, right? That's how we do in school, the exercise. A test, a fail, a subject, you do it over until you get it, right? And then we have many elements of help that we can use. Faith, for instance, prayer. St. Augustine, not because St. Augustine dictates our, he has many beautiful passages, teachings in the Spiritist doctrine, but before, when he was in physical life, he also had a life like everybody. No, he was lost, and a guy who liked to party and things like that. Everything was material and party and good things like what life had to offer. But at one point, he felt empty, and he needed to seek something greater, and that happens to all of us. And then he opened the Bible one day. He had that little voice, open what? Open the Bible, and he reading a passage. He transformed himself, In one of his prayers, when he was going through this trouble and tribulations, he asked Lord, he said, Lord, I'm not asking for a lighter load. I'm asking for stronger shoulders so that I can carry them. So that's how we grow. That's how we progress. Because sometimes when we have a problem or a situation, and if it is something that is hard, sometimes we even delight in working on resolving it. And we learn in the Spiritism as well that all these things that we go through, work, the jobs that we do, whatever it is, problems that we go through, solutions, our interacting with other people, being part of society, all these things are beneficial for us in the sense that it makes us develop our intelligence, acquire new talents. So it's all lessons. It's all for our own good. And I have had many troubles in my life, obviously, and the tribulation I went through. And obviously, I'm not the only one privileged to have gone through it, right? It's part of us. It's each one of us. Some, for some reason, since they're small. Like I have a brother. He's 3 years younger than I am. And I have never had major health problems. Everything works good. Everything. I only went to doctors a few times because of like minor accidents and things like that. And it's been 6 years since the last time I went to the doctor. So soon. Because I believe that I'm healthy. I act and do things that are good for me. So I don't take the trouble. I don't take the time to go through the trouble. My brother is all different. He became sick since he was 3 years old. And even now, he has a excruciating pain in his back that nobody can find where it comes from. And family, we had the same amount of love that we had from our parents. And he had even more love and attention because he required a lot of love and attention from my mom especially. And very impatient. In everything. He's negative. I'm positive, very positive. He's totally negative with everything. And so, for some reason, he chose, as we learn in his Spiritism, to go through. But then I try to talk to him and say, now, you need to go and see the causes and change. But it's hard to get it up here. He doesn't believe. He said his, and obviously we'll talk about Spiritism, go and do treatment. He went once, nothing happened. Said, I'm too scientific for that. I said, well, be scientific and be miserable then. And now he has insurance. I said, you have health insurance, right? Yeah. So use it. Why not? And at one point, he's going to be learn that. Now, and one thing that I learned, and I've lived many years, several decades already, and obviously I had a lot of problems. All solved. Some were terrible, but all solved. No more. Because they all pass. It is very hard when we're going through it. So, and I was still, the last one, major, I was even in the Spiritism. And, then you question, why is this happening. You do understand. And I had a lot of negotiation back and forth with the God and the spirits. And I said, if I'm going to be like this for a while, if there's no more reason for me to stay here, I can be more useful on the other side. So take me. And I gave them a time frame. I said, by, it was January 2nd or 3rd of, I said, if this doesn't happen, by this time you take me because I don't want to stay here anymore. That's been several years ago. So there must be a reason for me to be here because I'm still here. So I will stay. Horrible. It's like when you're going through this hot desert, no water, no food, and not. It is terrible to go through it. So the only thing that you have in your power, because you can't do anything, is to be patient. First, patience, because it's going to pass. It can't last that long. Even if it is, it seems long. Faith that you're going to get out of it. And perseverance. You just keep going. One more step. One more step. One by one until you reach the other side. So now I have problems, obviously. But I don't give them all that importance that I used to give. I don't give them all that energy and power anymore because I know that it's going to pass. And also, I'm not making the same mistakes that I made before because I learned better. So maybe I progressed a little bit. Every problem, each one of them, has a solution. There's no one that has no solution. They all solved. Think of your problem. All solved. The only problem that I thought back in the olden days was that the only thing that didn't have a solution for was death. You die, you end. There's no cure for death. You're dead, you're dead. And I just wrote a book that is called The End of Death. So even the problem of death is being resolved, as we learn in Spiritism. Life goes on. In question 132, Kardec asks, what is the objective of incarnation? Why are we here? And the answer is a means of attaining perfection. Same thing, corrupting what I said before. For some, an expiation. We are getting rid of bad energies. For others, a mission. So both ways, work both ways. In order to attain perfection, it is necessary for us to undergo all the vicissitudes of physical existence. Not one or two. It's all. So be prepared. So there's more to come. Thank God. Incarnation has also another purpose, to enable the Spirit to contribute our share in the works of creation. As we contribute our share in the works of creation, we are contributing to our own advancement. It's a win-win situation, no lose. We do our part right. We contribute to our own good. So we serve God. So if we are contributing, right, we are His helpers. Like the elves are Santa Claus. We are also part of this creation. We are also making it happen. And we have this that the Spirit said 100 years ago, 50 some years ago. And now we have quantum physics, physicists, many who don't believe in God. They're atheists. But they put another qualifier. And this maybe it will blow your mind. Spirits or spiritual atheists. 20% of scientists who call themselves atheists, 20% said, yeah, but I am a spiritual atheist. And that works because atheism refers exclusively to a non-belief in God. So like I said before, we believe in God by faith. And science wants to prove that God exists. If God doesn't exist, then, and if that scientist don't believe in that, he's an atheist. But what is changing, and they're becoming spiritual atheists, is that quantum physics is blowing a lot of scientists' minds because there is an interconnection to everything, even them, scientists, in the experiments that they're doing. So there is this connection. So we are all working towards this greater reason, greater meaning that creation has, that we have no clue what it is. But we go and we do it. We are the workers. Now, we know that earth, and the spirits tell us, and we know by the condition of many places, ones are happier, more peaceful, others not so. We learn from the spirits that the earth is a place where spirits not so advanced come to experience life, to learn. There are obviously in every time period souls that are much higher that come for a certain purpose. Jesus was one of them. Socrates, for instance. But the bulk of us, the rest of us, we are in this inferior and imperfect spirits. But we are here to get better. And Kardec asks if we in this condition also play useful roles in the universe. And Kardec had this. There couldn't be another mind that could have done so great a job as Kardec did, asking the questions to the spirit. And the answer is everybody, no exception, has obligations to fulfill. Aren't the simplest of the bricklayers just as important as the architect in the construction of a building? Maybe more important, because no bricklayer, no building. Even now here, the way they build buildings with those blocks of big thing, they need a machine to put it in place. There is always that less skilled in certain areas, or inferior, or the bricklayer or whatever, the machine operator that's going to set it. Just as important, or more important in that case, of than the architect. So how do we serve God in His creation? We serve by being the best bricklayer can, the best helpers we can, by being the peacemakers, the light in the darkness to those coming behind that is still lagging their development, by being the shoulders to those that need a shoulder to cry on, by being the ones by the tears of those crying because they're suffering, by being healers to those who suffer, and by being sowers of love and harmony. Then we have, we're talking about riches being served God and mammon. Mammon is riches, material properties. And we all know, obviously, that most of us in this earth are struggling to make ends meet. Many struggling to find food because they don't have even the means to make ends meet. And a lot of them rich. Now, then we ask, why are some very rich and other very poor? Kardec asks then in question 811, is an absolute equality of riches possible? And has it ever existed? No, it's not possible. The difference in abilities and character is opposed to it, obviously. Each one of us has some that we don't we some have many talents, some are very intelligent. How many people can be the president of the United States, or the CEO of a huge corporation, for instance? So only those people who are advanced enough to fill in those places, and not everybody is in that condition. So obviously there's difference. Now, regardless of what stage we're in, we have our part to fulfill. And again, Kardec goes and asks then, now, why has God given wealth and power to some and poverty to others? We're talking about serving God and mammon. We spoke about serving God. And the answer is, in order to test them in different ways. Moreover, as you know, it is the spirits themselves who have selected those trials, under which they often succumb. So we chose it, as I spoke in the beginning, and we are here to undergo those trials that we chose. Now, which of the two kinds of trial, poverty or riches, is the most to be dreaded by men? They're equally dangerous. Poverty excites complaints against providence. Riches excite all kinds of excesses. Now, in Kardec, in his wisdom, asks then, if the rich man has more temptations to evil, has he not also more ample means of doing good? And doing good is what we all want to do. Without charity, there's no salvation. We learned that from Buddhism. That is precisely what his wants increase with his fortune, and he never thinks he has enough for himself. Now, we see that there are exceptions, many exceptions. The world has never been so wealthy as it is today. There is a periods of poverty, but today it's not. If we read the history of the world, for instance, and see in place, we see that today we are blessed with a lot of riches. Of course, there is inequality, and some of the reason we saw why. And, when Jesus said we cannot serve God and mammon, and the riches, it was not the riches or those property itself, the way we use it. And we have some examples today, for instance, and that is a good example for us. When we become rich, my turn is going to be in the next incarnation, probably 10, 20 down the road. But we see, for instance, Bill Gates is the richest man in the world. And 10 years ago, he left Microsoft, about 10 years ago, to dedicate himself to his foundation. It's his time, full-time. He works full-time to get rid of his money. And he started a foundation, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett as an investor is in his 80s already, also a billionaire, $40, $50 billion is his fortune. And he and Bill Gates and Melinda, Bill Gates' wife, they started this foundation, is the Giving Pledge. The Giving Pledge is they go, all three of them, they talk to their rich friends, to the millionaires, billionaires, and talk to them and convince them to, or tell them the benefits of donating their wealth. More than half for everything. Warren Buffett, for instance, already pledged all his fortune, and they pledge like they can give it during their lifetime when they're still alive, or after they die. So there are several projects, and they're investing, and the idea is to invest in the most pressing problems of society. And so far, according to Forbes magazine, there are 400 billionaires in the Giving Pledge list to donate more than half of all their fortune, either in this life or after they. So what we see in these people, and they're not exceptions because they're doing that. The guy, the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and he's a kid. He's what, 30, 31 years old, and he was the guy who who donated most money last year to charity, and the charity is in several areas, and like the giving pledge to other um, um, places, situations that do need money. So we're seeing here a difference. What we see here, and that comes with the changes of time, right? They know they have all this money, and they also have this feeling that they need to be charitable. Now they're doing the opposite. They're using mammon, riches, to serve God, and they serve God by serving who? His children, us, the ones who need help. So we can do it. We can change it. Even if Jesus said that, not that he was wrong, but at the time he had his reasons. So they're wrong with acquiring riches. Because we're going to see, if we work hard, we deserve it. But we need to know how to use it properly. So with that said, I wish peace, health, and wealth to everybody here so that we can give more. Probably one day be part of one of the 400 in the Bill Gates giving pledge. So thank you very much, and